so it's back to school, and at Heatherdown, near Ascot, the new boys include an 8-year-old Tempest. No reflection on his parental control. Young Prince Andrew will be one of 80 boarders divided into groups known as Tempests, Meteors, Swallows and Vikings. Mr. James Edwards, headmaster of Heatherdown, now assumes responsibility for the Prince's education previously undertaken at Buckingham Palace. Apart from the usual classroom subjects, 30 acres of grounds provide ideal opportunities for sport. It's the pre-Olympic meeting at Portsmouth, and taking off for Mexico, Mike Bull, who raised his British pole vault record to 16 feet 7.5 inches. The big news featured women's captain Lillian Board helping our relay team to set a new world record, a wonderful omen for Mexico. Captain of the men's team, Ron Jones from Ilford, Essex, and 1,500 metres hope John Bolter from Colchester. A star over the sticks and winner of 10 British records this season, David Hemery. Long distance ace from Warley in Worcestershire, Alan Rushman. Maurice Herriot, number 4, and John Jackson, number 1, steeplechasing medal chasers. Awful shame the great Mary Rand isn't competing, but her absence allows the astonishing Birmingham schoolgirl Susan Scott to replace her in the pentathlon. Pat Jones and Pat Price could make up for Mary's absence in the 80 metres hurdles. Aiming for a golden target, Susan Platt. And swinging high among our hopefuls, Howard Payne. He's just improved on his own national hammer record. The first contingent leaves from London Airport, braving the cloudburst, which adds its own tattoo to the pipe band send-off. Too late now to worry whether training has been enough, if altitude will overcome enthusiasm. But one thing's certain, no explorer ever sought an El Dorado with more cheerful determination than these gold seekers bound for Mexico. Of course, before long, we'll all be crossing the Atlantic in 3 hours in Concord. The first appearance of the British prototype at Filton made a notable curtain raiser to the Farnborough show. Compared to the unveiling of the French version, it was a pretty undramatic presentation, but its builders probably feel there are superlatives enough in its shape and specification. Unfortunate Concorde couldn't appear at Farnborough, but it must still be in everyone's mind when they consider the aerospace industry. Anyway, this year we can confidently forecast a new record in aviation exports. First, there are complete aircraft like the VC-10. And the first airliner to be designed from the start for automatic landings, the Trident. Down the scale in size, but sky high in overseas sales, light aircraft of the Beagle range. But our biggest success story centers around our sales of aircraft engines. The revolutionary new Rolls-Royce engine selected to power the American Lockheed Airbus. And a flying test bed for the Olympus turbojet, the gigantic Vulcan. The Harrier, the world's first operational vertical takeoff fighter. Floods postponed most of the flying display, but we had a preview above the weather. Overseas aircraft featuring British engineering include the Swedish Draken supersonic fighter with its Rolls-Royce Avon turbojet. A Japanese airliner with Dart turboprops. The Dutch Fokker Fellowship with Spey turbofans. Finally, some of our own topliners in the sales charts, the short Skyvan. And they can't build enough of these to meet the demand, Britain-Norman's mini airliner, the Islander. Finally, the fantastically successful Handley-Page Jetstream. But our success in the air was far from being reflected down below. This was Lakeland, home county's version. British rails take over by inland waterways. Across more than 1,000 square miles of south and southeast England, the only consistent link was water. Lewisham on sea. Should have thought the priority was to keep the traffic moving. The worst flooding in this part of the country since 1953, many of us have been tempted to lay the blame on the Met Office. But even had they forecast such a deluge, what precautions could the public have taken? Saved a few carpets, perhaps? Bought a pair of Wellingtons? Surely it's time we had a central agency on the lines of civil defense ready for such an emergency to coordinate rescue and relief. Or must the authorities pursue that notorious push-bike attitude which allows every such crisis to catch us unprepared?